Welcome to Recapaholic. Today, I'm going to explain an American science fiction action film called J0hn Carter. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie starts on a strange planet called Bursan. The planet consists of three major kingdoms called Helium, the Zodanga, and the Tharks. Helium and Zodanga have been at war for centuries. At the beginning of the movie, we see the army of Helium in blue capes battling the army of Zodanga in red capes. The general of Zodanga, named Sabthan, is approached by three men who claim to be messengers of God called J0hn. The J0hn's leader, Matai Shang, gives them a mysterious blue weapon and tells them that he's been chosen by the goddess to receive it. The J0hns have decided to help Zodanga in the war. They possess control over a mysterious blue light called the Ninth Ray, which makes them stronger than other living creatures on Barsoom. The scene cuts to New York City in 1881. A man named Edgar is summoned by his uncle named J0hn Carter to New York City. When Edgar drops at the station, he's greeted by John's butler who takes him to John's estate. As it turns out, John is a wealthy man and a former Confederate Army captain. John's lawyer sadly informs Edgar of John's sudden death. John has left all of his numerous wealth to Edgar. The lawyer then takes a surprised Edgar to John's mausoleum, where his body is being preserved. But strangely, the door of the mausoleum only opens from the inside. Later, the lawyer hands Edgar a personal diary of John, which John wanted only Edgar to read. When the lawyer leaves, he starts reading it. It begins by mentioning that Edgar was the only one who believed John's wild stories when he was little, so it only feels right to tell this story to Edgar. The story starts in Arizona after the Civil War. J0hn Carter is a former captain in the Confederate Army who currently looks for gold in caves. Powell is a Union colonel who wants John to help his U.S. cavalry soldiers against the Apache. So he abducts him and tries drafting him as a soldier. However, John doesn't want to fight as a soldier anymore. After several failed attempts of running away, he manages to escape by knocking a guard out and stealing the colonel's horse. The colonel and his men pursue him. Not far away, they come across a mounted Apache warband. The colonel and the men get into a shootout with the people. John tries running away amidst the chaos, but the colonel gets injured in the fight. He helps the colonel out of pity and brings him into a nearby cave. The cave is new to John, as he's never come here to search for gold. He goes inside, lights a match, and is beyond surprised to see a lot of gold embedded on the roof of the cave. However, just then, a man behind him appears out of nowhere. The man is one of the J0hns we saw in the beginning of the movie. The colonel alerts John, who goes into a fight with the strange man. He shoots the man, making him fall to the ground. When John goes near him, he hears the man say Barsoom while looking at a strange medallion in his hands. John picks up the medallion and repeats the word Barsoom. Suddenly, a bright blue light flashes out of the locket. When John opens his eyes again, he's in a strange desert. He gets up and tries walking, but falls in every step. It seems as though he can float midair. Confused, he practices walking in his new environment. As he walks, he reaches a hill nearby where he sees several eggs hatching. Just then, a large group of green creatures with 6 limbs appears riding on massive animals. The leader attacks him, making John take a huge leap. The rest start firing at John, but stop when their leader asks them to. The creature speaks in a different language and introduces himself as Tarkus. John introduces himself as J0hn Carter from Virginia. But the creatures decipher that his name is Virginia. Tarkus asks John to jump as he did before, but he denies and attacks him. The creature injures John and holds him hostage. As they talk, we get to know that their kind is called Tharks. Elsewhere on the same planet, the princess of the city of Helium, J0hn, practices presenting a weapon she's designed to her father, the king of Helium. Helium is at war with another city called Zodanga and is about to lose because of J0hns being on Zodanga's side. J0hn has figured out the secret of the Ninth Ray used by the Zodanga to fight the war. However, when she shows her weapon to the king, a man secretly causes a malfunction, causing it to explode. The king of Zodanga, Sabthan, wants to marry J0hn for the war to end, but she's extremely against it. If Sabthan marries her, he'll be the Prince of Helium and will have the power to rule all of Barsoom. Meanwhile, the Tharks take John to their city, and put him with the newly born infants. At night, a female Thark named Sola feeds J0hn a liquid, after which he can understand the language of Tharks. The following day, the Tharks order J0hn to jump high in front of everyone. J0hn notices that the medallion is with Tarkus, and without it, he can't go back home. Just then, two battleships appear in the sky. The Helium and the Zodanga are battling each other. The war is entertainment to the Tharks, who bet on who will win. We see Princess Deja fighting in the ships. She tries to control the ship but falls off it in the process. J0hn, using his newfound jumping powers, saves the princess. The Tharks start cheering for J0hn, who's now fighting the Zodanga's soldiers along with Deja. J0hn manages to change the course of the fight, making the Helium win, but their ship crashes as well. Deja and J0hn are with the Tharks. Tarkus is impressed by J0hn's abilities and makes him his right-hand man. J0hn's reluctant to the idea but doesn't disagree. At night, Deja and J0hn talk, and Deja reveals to J0hn that they're on Mars, which is called Barsoom in their language. J0hn's surprised and doesn't believe her. He tells her that he's from Earth. Deja, too, finds that hard to believe. Because of his thicker bone density and the planet's low gravity, Carter has incredible strength and can leap high. Deja then takes him to the Thark's temple where no humans are allowed to go. She hopes that the temple has a way to know how people can travel through worlds as J0hn did. The kind female Thark, Sola, goes behind them begging them to stop. Deja shows J0hn the statue of the goddess Isis and reads some markings engraved in it. However, the three of them are soon arrested by the Tharks and sentenced to death for entering the temple. Tarkus asks everyone to leave him alone with the prisoners in the cell in order to cut J0hn's hands off. When they're done, he reveals that he's Sola's father and doesn't want them to die at the hands of the Tharks. He hands J0hn his medallion and asks him to go to the river Is to solve the mystery of the goddess Isis and get back to his world. When the Tharks look into the room after some time, they see that Tarkus has betrayed them. Tarkus's enemy, Talhajas, takes charge and declares himself the new leader. Then we see J0hn, Deja, and Sola heading to the river Is. Deja is leading the way. However, Sola tells J0hn that she's leading them towards the city of Helium instead of the river. J0hn confronts her about it, and it turns out that she was taking him to her city to use him as a soldier in the war. Disappointed, J0hn asks Sola to lead the way and leaves the princess there. Deja insists that she only did it because she doesn't want to marry Sabthan. He asks her to accompany him to the river. With no other way out, she agrees. The three sail through the river of Is and reach a massive inverted pyramid. J0hn and Deja go on top of it and see a strange blue energy forming on the ground. Deja realizes that this is the power of the ninth ray that she'd made her weapon from. They also realize that Carter's appearance on Mars is likely due to the transmission of a copy of himself from Earth to Mars with the help of the ninth ray. Just then, an army of Warhoons approaches, led by Matai Shang, the leader of the Therns. J0hn bravely tells Deja and Sola to run away, and he fights the army of Warhoons himself. The King of Helium sends his army to J0hn's aid, who defeats the Warhoons and saves him. They take an injured J0hn to Helium. Deja reaches her home and meets her father. She's surprised to see the King of Zodanga, Sabthan, there. He has come with no weapon, and soldiers ask Deja to marry him and end the war. Deja doesn't have any other way to stop the war, so she reluctantly agrees to marry him. In the following scene, we see J0hn resting in a chamber in Helium, Paris. A soldier appointed by Deja fetches him and secretly takes him to her chamber. Deja asks J0hn to go back to his home using the medallion. When the guards enter her chamber, J0hn disappears. Deja thinks that he went back to Earth, but J0hn is hiding, actually, from the soldiers. When they leave, he tries going outside, but is soon caught by Matai Shang. J0hn's surprised by Matai Shang's ability to change into any creature around him. The whole city is preparing for the wedding of Sabthan and Deja. Matai Shang binds J0hn to himself with the help of a technology developed by the Ninth Ray. J0hn is unable to move his body to his will. Matai Shang seems to be controlling him with his wrist device. Matai Shang then reveals to him that Sabthan is planning to kill Deja and invade Helium after the marriage. The Thern took his side in the war because Sabthan was the easiest to manipulate. But Matai Shang's real aim is to rule all of Barsoom through Sabthan. Matai Shang is about to kill J0hn when an alien dog J0hn had befriended earlier comes to his rescue. It bites off Matai Shang's wrist device, letting J0hn free. He hurries to a flying craft and flies away to stop Deja from marrying Sabthan. However, J0hn doesn't know how to control the aircraft and crash lands near the Thark's territory. They put him captive with a beaten Tarkus. Talhages, who is now the leader of the Tharks, puts J0hn and Tarkus with massive beasts called the White Apes. J0hn somehow manages to capture the apes in front of the whole Thark population. He then invites Talhages to fight him and defeats him in one go. Everyone cheers for J0hn, who's now the new leader of the Tharks. He then persuades them to fight the Zodanga. The army of Tharks and J0hn make their way to Deja and Sabthan's wedding ceremony. J0hn reaches there just in time to stop the wedding. Seeing him, Sabthan tries to kill Deja, but J0hn stops him just in time. A war between the soldiers of the two cities erupts again. However, the Tharks are on the side of Helium now. The Zodanga soon loses, but Matai Shang manages to escape with J0hn's medallion. J0hn plans to live on Mars as Deja's husband, so he doesn't bother to look for the medallion. He and J0hn get married and the crowd cheers for them. He's now the Prince of Helium. The following morning, J0hn and Deja are on a balcony. Deja leaves J0hn outside and goes into the room when Matai Shang appears. J0hn tries to fight him, but he manages to use the medallion and send J0hn back to Earth. When J0hn wakes up, he's covered in dust and his beard has grown long. He's in the same cave and he looks towards Colonel Powell to see his remains, suggesting that a long time has passed in the Earth while he was on Mars. He looks around for a medallion, but he doesn't find it. He has no way to go back. The gold embedded in the cave makes him wealthy. He knows that there are more medallions on Earth. He starts a mining corporation and searches for the medallion for the next 10 years, until one day he finds one on a site. J0hn's delighted, but he knows that the Therns have been keeping an eye on him all this time. His body on the Earth must be protected when he goes to Mars because any harm on it will cause him to die on both planets. That's why his mausoleum only opens from the inside. He'd orchestrated his death to return back to Mars. J0hn writes in his diary that he wants Edgar to protect his mausoleum from the Therns in turn of his wealth. Edgar's in shock after reading the diary. He goes out to the mausoleum and tries opening it with a secret password which turns out to be Ned, the name J0hn called Edgar when he was a kid. As the doors to the mausoleum open, a Thern approaches Edgar. He'd been spying on Edgar, waiting to kill J0hn. However, before he can harm Edgar, someone from behind knocks him out. Edgar's beyond surprised to see his uncle in front of him. J0hn takes the Thern's medallion. As it turns out, he'd never found the medallion. All this, including his death, was fake to attract a Thern and acquire his medallion. J0hn then asks Edgar to protect his mausoleum from now onwards and goes inside it. He lies on the bed with the medallion and says the chantings that will take him back to Mars again. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thanks for watching.